You ever have a place that feels like it's holding your whole life together? Like it's the last piece of you that still makes sense? For me, that was Willow Lake, a quiet stretch of water tucked behind my cabin in northern Michigan, where the pines whisper and the world slows down. After losing my wife, Emily, and our daughter, Lily, in a wreck that turned my life to ash, I came back here to Hidito, let the silence wrap around me like a blanket, and keep the pain at bay. I'd inherited the place from my uncle Tom, a gruff old water engineer who'd spent his life mapping rivers and lakes for the state before buying this chunk of land in the 70s. The lake wasn't just a pretty view. It was his obsession, his masterpiece, a private reservoir he'd shaped with hidden channels and a sluice gate most folks didn't even know existed. To me, it was more than that. It was where Emily and I used to paddle out at dawn, where Lily caught her first perch, giggling like she'd won the lottery. Their ashes are scattered in those waters, near the cattails on the west shore. It's mine, not just on paper, but in my bones. So you can imagine the gut punch when I found a letter in my mailbox one spring, no return address, just Pinecrest HOA, stamped in fancy script. It said my lake was now a community asset, part of some grand plan to build a floating bistro right in the middle of it. I laughed at first, thinking it was a mix-up. I mean, I've paid taxes on this place for 20 years. The deed's clear as day, and the only road to the water cuts straight through my land. Who the hell was volunteering my lake? But then I saw the boats. 2 weeks later, I'm sipping coffee on my porch when a pontoon drifts out, two guys in khakis and shades poking around with measuring rods, laughing like they're planning a damn yacht party. I yelled from the dock, "You're on private property." They just waved, all neighborly, like I was some cranky old coot they could ignore. Next came orange survey flags sprouting up along the shore, then a laminated sign nailed to a tree. Approved for floating bistro development, Pinecrest HOA. I called the number on it straight to voicemail. My stomach churned. This wasn't a mistake. This was a heist. I'd been a civil engineer for 25 years before I retired, so I knew how to dig into the paperwork. I drove to the county office with my deed, Tom's old surveys, even a faded map he'd sketched by hand. The clerk, a tired woman named Janet, pulled up the records and shrugged. "You're the sole owner, Mr. Carter. No shared rights, no HOA claim." I nodded, tight-lipped, and left, thinking that'd be the end of it. Spoiler, it wasn't. The next week, a flatbed rolled in, not even bothering with the county road they tore through an old logging trail on my land, dumping lumber and steel right by the water. By noon, a crew was bolting together a floating platform, big as a barn, like it had been prefabbed somewhere else and towed in. I called the sheriff, a young guy named Deputy Brooks, who scratched his neck and said, "They've got HOA permits, sir. I can't stop him without a court order." I stared at him, my voice low. "They're building a restaurant in the middle of my lake." He just shrugged. "Get a lawyer." I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I went home, opened a beer, and stared at the water till the stars came out. That night, I climbed down to the sluice gate, a rusty vault Tom had shown me years ago, hidden under a hatch by the dock. It smelled like wet stone and iron, and the steel wool was cold under my hands. Tom had built it to control the lake's outflow, a gravity-fed system that could drain the whole thing into a channel under the ridge. I didn't turn it not yet, but I felt something shift inside me. They thought I was just a broken widower, too tired to fight. They were wrong. For a while it got quiet. No trucks, no hammering. I almost let myself believe they backed off. Then one morning, I walked out with my binoculars and saw it. A massive platform floating dead center in my lake, tethered with steel cables drilled into my bluff. Beams, roof brackets, the skeleton of a full-on building. My thermos went cold in my hand. I grabbed Tom's old blueprint from the garage, found a 1974 water rights registration black and white proof, I owned every drop. I emailed it to a lawyer friend, Mike, who shot back. They're screwed. Send a cease and desist. Give him 48 hours. Then we file for an injunction. I printed the letter and drove to the HOA office, a slick glass building that screamed, "We're better than you." The receptionist barely looked up. "They're in a meeting," she said, smirking when I slid the envelope across the counter. Then a door opened, and out walked Karen Voss, the HOA president, all sharp blazer and sharper eyes. "Mr. Carter," she said, like she'd been expecting me. "I hear you've got a problem with our little project." I kept my voice even. "It's not a project. It's a trespass. That's my lake, and you're about to get a court order to prove it." She smiled all teeth. "We have documents saying it's a shared resource. Community support's overwhelming. You'll see." I leaned in. "Show me one legal paper that holds up, Karen, or I'll have a judge rip that thing out of my water." She didn't blink. "We'll review your letter." I went home, took drone shots of their platform, and sent them to Mike. Every day I watched it grow walls, windows, a deck. They strung up spotlights that blasted into my bedroom at night, turning my sanctuary into a Vegas sideshow. Neighbors started kayaking out to snap selfies, gushing about property values and craft cocktails. I printed 200 flyers, laying out the truth private lake, no HOA rights, legal action pending, and stuffed every mailbox in Pinecrest. My phone blew up. Some folks were mad, some confused, a few apologized. An old couple, the Harrisons, invited me over for coffee. "We thought it was approved," Mrs. Harrison said, embarrassed. "They never even voted on it," her husband grunted. That gave me a flicker of hope, but Karen and her board just doubled down. Then came the preview party. Golf carts lined my access road, me road ferrying HOA bigwigs to the platform for a VIP soft launch. Fairy lights, jazz, champagne clinking like they'd already won. I launched my drone, caught it all in 4K. Karen toasting investors, servers with shrimp skewers, cables bolted into my bluff. I stood on my dock with a flashlight, beams slicing across the water. Karen saw me, her smile slipping for a split second before she turned away. A security guy motored over in a skiff. "You can't be here, sir." I laughed, bone-tired. "You're standing in my lake, kid. Tell Karen she's got till tomorrow." He didn't know what to say, just floated back. That night, I couldn't take it anymore. Their music shook my walls. Their laughter mocked my loss. I went to the vault at 3 a.m., tools in hand drench, oil, gloves. The valve was stiff, but I eased it open quarter-inch by quarter-inch, just like Tom taught me. A low hum started, like the lake was exhaling. By dawn, the water was dropping, slow and steady, exposing mud flats. I sent an email to Karen and the board, scheduled for 5:30 a.m. Drainage active. Evacuate your illegal structure now. I attached the water rights, a photo of the valve, proof they couldn't dodge. By sunrise, the platform was tilting. Workers scrambled, shouting, as tables slid and a canopy buckled. The drone caught it all. By 6:15, the local news was on it, thanks to a blogger I'd tipped off. "Illegal HOA restaurant collapses as owner drains lake," the headline screamed. Cheryl called me 5 times. I didn't pick up. I stood on my dock, breathing in the smell of silt, feeling the quiet return. The aftermath was chaos. The lake was a muddy scar, the platform a twisted wreck. Karen gave a teary interview, calling it sabotage, but the judge wasn't buying it. My injunction came through, finding the HOA and barring further work. 3 board members quit. Karen held on, defiant, till the fines hit her personally. Residents turned on her, demanding refunds for their bistro fund. I got settlement offers, big ones, but I only took one. A public apology and a legal promise to leave my lake alone forever. Winter came, and I rebuilt the dock, board by board, painting a bench for Emily and Lily. By spring, the lake was creeping back rain, springs, time doing their work. Ducks returned, then frogs, then fish. A young couple from Pine Crest brought me a painting of the lake, with faint shadows of a woman and girl in the sky. I hung it above my fireplace, next to Lily's old fishing hat. The final hearing was quick. I won on every count: trespass, damages, defamation. Karen whispered as she passed me in court. You could have just said no. I looked her dead in the eye. I did. That summer, I had a barbecue on the dock with a few neighbors who'd come around. We ate burgers, watched the sunset ripple on the water, and didn't talk about the HOA. The lake was mine again, not just the water, but the peace, the memories, the part of me I thought I'd lost. Was I too harsh? Maybe. But when someone tries to steal your heart's last safe place, you don't negotiate. You fight. What would you have done? If someone took the one thing that kept you whole, would you fight or would you let it go? Drop a comment. Tell me your story. I am reading. And if you've ever stood up to an HOA or fought for what's yours, hit that share button. Let's get this out there.